Statistically speaking, you in this room don't know encryption. Most people in America don't. It's not unusual that you don't know encryption. Recently, Senators Burr and Feinstein have put together a draft bill that would severely hurt encryption. People who are in the technology sphere, people who are normally mortal enemies on the technological playground, have come together to oppose this bill. Thousands of experts have signed an open letter to these senators opposing this bill. Why do they oppose it? Because they know encryption. They understand science and math and technology, and they know that this bill is ill-conceived and dangerous. So I want to bring you into the fold, make you among the people who know encryption, so that maybe you can understand why this bill is so bad. Let's start with an illustration. Imagine you're part of a super secret project and you need to send lockable boxes around the world. These boxes are part of your project. You need to send lots of them, and what's inside is critical to your project. But there's a man in the middle with an indomitable spirit who wants to peek inside of your box. And he wants to do it without you knowing. He wants to peek inside every box you ship, because the more he knows about your project, the better off he is. If he's discovered, that will foil his plan. So he has at most 12 hours with your box, because he's managed to get himself among the couriers and shippers that you use to ship your box. If you change shippers, that won't help him. You know he might exist, so you decide you're going to lock the box before you send it around the world. Now, for the sake of this illustration, you can't actually go visit your counterpart on the other side of the world. Let's just say that's a rule, okay? So how would you do that? How would you send this lockable box? Well, you can't send the key in a separate package. The man in the middle will just grab a copy of that key, and now he can unlock every box that comes along. Well, you might think, I know, I'll use a combo lock, or I'll have a very specific design, and I'll call up my counterpart and tell them the combination, or how to design the key. Well, the man in the middle anticipates this, and has tapped your phone lines, and now he knows everything he needs to get into this box. So how do you do it? Well, essentially, there is one way that you can do this. Let me back up a moment. If you convey or transfer a key at any time, you've basically made the key worthless. So what you do is you lock the box with your key, and that key stays with you, which makes it the perfect key. Nobody ever touches your key. You send that locked box to your counterpart across the world, and they put their own lock on the box. And then they send the box back to you, and you remove your lock, and you send the box back. And then they have a lock with a key that only they know, and you have a lock with a key only you know, and your box is secure. And that's the basics in illustrative form of how encryption works. Now, before I get too far, I want to remind you that in the United States we have a Constitution with a Bill of Rights that guarantees you specific freedoms so that you cannot be oppressed by your government. Among those is the Fifth Amendment. According to the Fifth Amendment, if you are being investigated and you have a safe in your home locked with a combination, the prosecution cannot compel you to give up that combination. Or your computer is completely secured with a password. They cannot compel you to give up that password. Giving up that password or that combination is testifying against yourself. So they can't make you do that. So let's take this illustration a bit further. The man in the middle sees your box, and every time he sees it, he spends a little bit of time playing with your lock, learning about it. And every time it comes through, he gets a little bit more time with your lock. And given enough time, he can figure out how to create a key for that lock, because he's repeatedly exposed to the same lock over and over and over again. But you anticipated this, and you bought one of these fancy new machines. It's a machine that when you're ready to send a package, you type in a password, it creates a lock for you, you put it on the box, and you do your thing. When you get the package back, you type in your password, it creates a key, you unlock it, and then the key and the lock destroy themselves. Now, every time the man in the middle encounters a lock, it's a new lock and a new key. So he can't pick it. Well, what this bill proposes to do is to put another door on the bottom of the box that is, quote, hidden, that has the same lock. And so he ignores the locks you put on and pays attention to the lock on the bottom of the box, because it's the same key. And the problem is that this door on the bottom has a key that needs to be conveyed or transferred to somebody in law enforcement, so it's a weak key. And so he ignores your locks and spends all of his time trying to pick the lock on the bottom of the box. Or maybe this bill would say, no, the people who make the machine that creates your locks has to keep a copy of the key, which then needs to be transferred to law enforcement. Well, it's the same thing. You're transferring a key. It's weak. And the big problem with this is it would take someone like me a week to write software that is full of strong encryption. So the terrorists and criminals can hire somebody to write encryption that doesn't follow these rules. The only thing that this bill does is weaken your encryption. Your banking, your insurance, everything that you want to keep secret online is weakened by this bill. It does nothing to stop the terrorists or the criminals. This bill is bad from top to bottom, so I encourage you to contact your senators and tell them to oppose this bill by Burr and Feinstein. Thank you.